Welcome to our latest episode of Thrivin at the Beach, where you know our primary goal is to get you excited about the future of Myrtle Beach and all of its surrounding areas. We do that by giving you an opportunity to meet the people that are busy working behind the scenes to power our success, and in this case, differentiate our market from other markets across South Carolina and even the world. Today's show is all about making Myrtle Beach a welcoming destination for all people, especially those on the autism spectrum. And our guest today is Miss Becky Large. She is the founder and CEO of the Champion Autism Network. And she has got numerous programs that are really differentiating our marketplace to make it a place that is inclusive for all people, both tourism families when they're coming and ultimately people that choose to live here. So, Becky, thank you so much for being here today.
Really blessed to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So, when we first started talking about the work that you do, you mentioned that you really started doing some sensory-friendly activity really back as early as 2013 and so forth. And it has really kind of developed into this kind of, well, nationally and internationally recognized organization. So tell us, if you would, a little bit about kind of how you got involved and felt like this was an initiative that would continue to drive your passion in this place.
I didn't know it was a passion until I started, but my husband and our two sons and I relocated here from the southern New Jersey, Philadelphia area in the spring of 2012. And it became apparent, and one of my sons is on the autism spectrum. And it became apparent there's all these amazing organizations to serve the person with autism, but autism can be so isolating for families that there really wasn't any supports or services available for the family unit. Autism is kind of a range of social conditions and can be characterized by repetitive behaviors, difficulty communicating, and then a lot of times people with autism have sensory processing disorder where they become overwhelmed by lights, crowds, smells, and basically any time they leave the house. So when that happens, judgment ensues, right? People think that your child is evil, you're a horrible parent, and that's really not the case. It is. It's horrible. And, we're really a family in crisis and could use a little loving and kindness. But preaching and practicing non-judgment is kind of like one of the things that I've tried to do. So we started by holding sensory-friendly movies in May of 2013, where the lights are up, the sound is down, and the people are free to move around. So it's not your traditional movie viewing experience at all, but it was one where our families with autism really enjoyed it because our people have a hard time with, loud sounds. Like you go to the movies, right? It's really dark, it's really loud, you have to sit still. Really not kind of our environment. But so
Sure.
Here people can move around, they can, the lights are up, the sound is down, and our families loved it so much they wanted to know what else there was. So we started a training program for restaurants because you can only imagine how overwhelming that is. Mm-hmm. And then in the beginning of 2016, I was talking to the Surfside Beach Business Committee. I'm like, we live in this fabulous tourist destination. Like, why don't we invite the whole autism world to come play with us at the beach? So Surfside Beach declared themselves the first autism-friendly travel destination anywhere in January of 2016.
Oh, I love that.
And Myrtle Beach and Horry County followed suit at the end of 2018. So we started this program in earnest. And we have a training program now that is all online, thanks to COVID. But, for resorts, hotels, retail, restaurants, activities providers, first responders, general education, and I know I'm forgetting one because I always do. But people can take these, businesses can enroll online, train their employees, and then they become recognized as being autism ready. We have an Autism Traveler app that our member families can download and then share and check in when they get to one of these participating businesses. And the businesses offer a service or a discount. I kind of call it like the AAA of autism travel because we have train and aware businesses with listings online and in-app that show their location and their discount, and then our families can find them when they're here, there, and everywhere, and take advantage of these little discounts. It's not a ton, but knowing that you're going somewhere where the people know how to serve you, like a restaurant, where to seat you and how to treat you, and you get a discount on top of it. It gives them one more reason to share that they're an autism family. Many really didn't want to share because they were, afraid of judgment. So we're really trying to reduce that through education and advocacy.
Wow, that's amazing. And what crosses my mind as I listen to you is how thoughtful that is. Really, when you think about the fact that having had a personal experience, right, is one thing, but to take it to the level where now you want to help all other families feel comfortable, and in an indirect fashion, well, I guess you could even say a direct fashion, you're driving revenue and popularity and inclusion in our marketplace. So our restaurants that are trained benefit, and I hate to hear the fact that individuals that are on the autism spectrum and their families have this kind of worry about how are other people going to react. But I can also respect the fact that it's probably very, very real.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when people don't understand something, what do? They automatically look to criticize or judge, right? Yeah. So with that said, I know that you have the club that you mentioned is the Autism Travel Club.
Yes.
That's the program that you were referring to in terms of restaurants and I guess any
training.
business, right? Get certified and then be on this map in
Yep.
the app. Cool. What are some things that would be embedded in that training that you have found really helpful for employers to know and understand when they're serving individuals with the autism?
So when we first started the training programs, all of our trainings were live and on site. It was very grassroots here in Myrtle Beach. And a John Maxwell certified trainer, Wynn Godbold from the area, helped me to really make the training that much more effective. And one of the things that she implemented was kind of a game, so to speak, or an autism simulation. Like we don't say, like I'm not going to say that I know exactly what a person with autism is experiencing the moment they open their eyes, but we know that we can create a feeling of anxiety and overwhelm. So Wynn had done that. So when COVID hit and then we started to make all the online modules, it was very important to recreate somehow that simulation, and we did it. And it's a 43-second video that it is overwhelming and long around second 28. My heart still palpitates. I've probably watched it hundreds of times. And, people with autism who have watched it, including my son, were like, that is what I wake up to every day. Like they've thanked me and us because it's a portrayal of what they experience. And so that was really important. So that's so impactful that we just kind of lead off with, it's a great hook, right? You're like, okay, this is, if you don't understand, if you get nothing else, we can at least give you this feeling of anxiety and overwhelm. And you might want to then support people and families living with autism.
So individuals would go to this travel app, or they would go to the website to find that information?
We have on autismtravel.club, there is an 8-minute demo of an online module. And within that demo is that all of our modules also have a pre and post training survey with the same 5 questions to measure efficacy, right? We have to justify our existence.
Yeah.
And then also at the end...
make sure it's working.
Yeah, right. Hello. I'll take your money again, right? But it's all to support our families. And then at the end, the employees get a certificate of completion.
Okay.
So that's part of that. So if anybody wants to see that, and I believe it's on the Champion Autism Network YouTube channel as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely something I think everybody should check out, because to be immersed in an experience like that, it doesn't necessarily require much discussion, if you will. In other words, once you experience it, you're like, wow, this is really what life is like for these folks. Who am I to judge, right?
Exactly.
So you also mentioned when we spoke earlier that you are working with programming now as these students, as these children, I guess back in 2013 and 16 and so forth, are getting older.
Yeah.
You're identifying a whole kind of another level of need. And I was wondering if you could chat a little bit about that for us.
Yes, absolutely. So, as you can imagine, since 2013, we would call them our littles. They would come and they were, 3, 4, and 5 there to see an animated movie. And now they're, plus 11 years. Whether or not their temporal age matches their emotional age is still, they're getting older and, their interests are changing and things like that. So we want to hold more programs for our olders, more sensory-friendly events for our olders. You can imagine that it takes time and effort to do that, but we are now going to partner with the Star Academy, and we're going to have, it's called Hook, Hangout for Older Kids, and so we're really, really excited for that. So there's going to be a space at the new Star Academy location for the Hook Club or whatever, Hangout for Older Kids. And then we will, Champion Autism Network will host off-site sensory-friendly events. Like when we took a survey, the number one thing that our guys wanted to do or people wanted to do was Dave & Buster's. And we've held sensory-friendly events there before. But, video games, as you can imagine, is huge. And we don't want it to be kind of like it's couched as like an autism play date, because if you just get a bunch of people with autism in a room, it'd be like getting a bunch of blondes in a room thinking that they're all going to get along, right? So that's not really the way it is. So kind of like we do now, we have sensory-friendly movies, birthday bowling bashes, visits to Ripley's Aquarium, jumps at Big Air and the Sky Zone and things every month. We would like to do the same thing for our olders so that they can decide what they're interested in and what they want to do. So really excited about that. And then the next thing with all of our trained and aware businesses is to then employ them too. So, that will come after Hook.
Wow. And talk about an impact in the local community. Are there other communities that are doing the same things that you speak of here in the Grand Strand?
There is not another organization like Champion Autism Network and Autism Travel Club as far as the app and the card and the discounts and the training. Mesa, Arizona is huge. They started with autism and now they're going to be like the mecca for every disability. Yes, it's Allison there at Visit Mesa is amazing, and really just it's almost like utopian in a way, where like for anybody with a disability. But one of the things that we learned since we started this is when tourist families would come here, they would want to take the program home with them because they feel so supported, they feel so seen, they feel they do things that they would have never done before. Mm-hmm. And so that's been really remarkable. So much so that they're starting to move here, which I guess is good. If we don't have the best services, I mean, the program that we have and we're providing for these families is amazing. But as far as social services and supports, we're kind of not. South Carolina is not the best. But we have packaged it, and now we're working with other DMOs to institute the program there. So I was just in Kissimmee, Florida last week, and then Go Laurel Highlands. They're the two kind of groundbreakers. Go Laurel Highlands is east of Pittsburgh in a big, beautiful area out that way. So, and then we've got other DMOs, destination marketing organizations that we're speaking with, and communities, right? So we're then working with the destination marketing organizations, kind of as a travel initiative. Oh, Bentonville, Arkansas. Can't forget that. And then the chambers of commerce. I feel like the chambers of commerce are more like community-oriented rather than travel and tourism-oriented. So we're kind of doing both. Like Loris we're working with, and, like different Conway, and, we'd like the program to be instituted everywhere. My goal is World Autism Awareness Domination. So, you know.
I love that. And that's a big goal. It's a big one, but hey, look at the progress that you've made in just a few years.
We already have a module in Kiswahili over there in Nairobi, Kenya. So
I'll be
our general
darned.
module.
Wow.
And we want to take our other modules and put them in other languages with culturally relevant imagery. So we're halfway there.
Yeah.
Sort of. I've got the content.
You've got to
just have
Africa, right? So I'm curious, you mentioned this programming that you do, right? Whether it's for the littles, as you call them, or this new program for the little bit older kids. Who does the programming? Do you have a staff of folks that actually execute these sensory-friendly events? Tell me a little about how that works.
No. Unfortunately, it's we're down to a staff of one, meaning me. We do have a working board, but generally, I'm the one, right? So it's been very helpful though now that Star Academy now will have a home for the program. That will make it that much easier, because before we were just trying to figure out how to coordinate it. And now, okay, so they have a place that they can call home. And then, I have relationships with all these organizations, to have events. So I just have to do it, right?
So I've been to Dave & Buster's, and I know how loud and crazy and overstimulating that can be. How do you execute a sensory-friendly event there?
We hold it before they open,
Okay.
or when there's lower charge. So generally, any sensory-friendly event, we will go to the business and be like, okay, what is a time that's really kind of like dead for you, where you want to have traffic, right? We're not going to go to Dave & Buster's on like a Saturday night or, so maybe when it's a slower time or before they open, and then we ask that, they turn off any ambient music, turn up the lights. One of the challenges at like Dave & Buster's is a lot of the machines have flashing lights and noises and things. And if they're able to and willing to turn those lights and sounds off, great. Or we make sure that there's a quiet place for them to go to, like they have the party rooms or wherever, and we can go in there and it's quiet. Sometimes there's some food and they can just kind of decompress if they need to.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of, in my mind, Dave & Buster's is kind of an extreme example from a stimulation standpoint, right? And if you can do it there, we should be able to do it anywhere.
Right. Well, just think about like Fun Warehouse or Big Air. You walk in, there's strobe lights and music, like just craziness, right? But if we just turn all that off, everybody's happy.
Right. And more people can enjoy the facility and the services they provide. It just makes sense.
I'm telling you, I plan quiet parties for a living, and I am like crowd phobic. I've become I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. That sounds really overwhelming and overstimulating,
Oh, my goodness. So your goal of really taking this kind of initiative globally.
Yeah.
And with your being a staff of one, tell me a little bit about that kind of plan in terms of what does that look like and what kind of role can other people play to try to help fuel your growth and increase the awareness of autism?
Yeah, well, increasing the awareness is one thing, but increasing the acceptance and support and non-judgment is like another.
Okay.
So I would think that would be like the biggest thing that anybody could do for our families is just lead with love. It's not rocket science. And that's actually when I started, when we took the training program out from under Champion Autism Network and we started another company, it was actually called Lead with Love Training Company. And the tagline was, it's not rocket science, because it's really not. You just have to learn a couple tips and tricks. But when you leave this market, Champion Autism Network and Lead with Love Training Company mean nothing, right? So we wanted it to be something that you hear Autism Travel Club and you're like, okay, right? At least it has something to do with autism and travel. So that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 18 months as far as the rebranding went. And the whole thing is being autism ready isn't for every business. It's just not. Not every business owner is servant-hearted. Not every. It's just like I love Ruth's Chris, but I wouldn't say, you guys have to be autism ready, right? Fine dining, that just doesn't seem to mix well, but we will go and ask for gift certificates for silent auctions. There's other ways to serve, for sure.
Surely,
But,
yeah.
Having businesses and business owners and management that really want to support and serve our growing and loyal market should contact the Autism Travel Club and Champion Autism Network and come play with us and make a bunch of people real happy.
I think that's awesome. Take action, get involved,
Yep.
right? Which is really what builds a community in the end anyway. And knowing that this kind of resource is right here under our nose, shame on us if we don't take advantage of it.
Tremendous community here. From the minute I met with Mr. Brad Dean, the former CEO of the Chamber, in 2015, we have had nothing but tremendous support and success because of our relationship. And really, thank you for your continued support and interest. It really means the world to me and the thousands of families and people that we represent.
Well, and when you think about, Thrivin at the Beach is really about kind of driving prosperity of sorts, right? And you're talking about not only inclusion for individuals with disabilities as autism, but employing them eventually, training the workforce to be accepting and to learn to be able to deal effectively with individuals on the spectrum, because I've personally had opportunity to work with some of these kids, and they are extremely bright. They have these kind of hurdles that they have to get over, but they can't be dismissed because of those, social stumbling blocks, maybe, or hurdles.
Maybe.
Exactly. Give folks a chance. Open your heart. Lead with love. I love that. I think that's awesome. So I know that there's some big news brewing as we talk about getting the message out beyond the Grand Strand area. And I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but can you tell me a little bit about what's brewing in the media front for your organization? And
very exciting stuff. So Stuart Butler, the Chief Marketing Officer, of course, of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce and CVB, really, when he heard that 87% of families with autism don't travel, he made it his mission to kind of jump on the bandwagon and try and figure out how to make that better. Mm-hmm. So he's super creative, and he decided that there needed to be a docu-series. That it's a 6-part docu-series called Traveling the Spectrum, where 3 families with autism, who hadn't taken a vacation, come to the Grand Strand to experience a supported vacation. And so it's kind of based on the program that I created, and that is supposed to, it's picked up by Peacock, and I believe it's supposed to launch or drop in November. We're still waiting on the date, but we're really, I just can't wait to see what happens when that happens, because I just, putting autism on the map, I think it's going to put autism on the map in a big way and really help to project or amplify what we're all trying to do.
Right. Well, it comes almost full circle back to the notion of, if you take the time to learn more and you understand what these families are dealing with and what that individual, for that matter, is dealing with, knowledge changes everything. And creating that, using a docu-series to be able to get that kind of word out and to share those experiences with with anybody that's listening, I think is awesome. And to know that it all started here in the Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas.
It's very cool.
It is.
It's just stupid cool. I just really do get it.
So were you involved in the production of it, or have you met these families?
So I had the opportunity to meet the families from season 1, and that was spring of 2023, and now they started filming season 2, so I get to meet the 2 families, one tomorrow and one next week. So, and I kind of sometimes am on location and things like that and involved a little bit. So it's been quite an honor, truly, and just it's just so exciting to get that kind of exposure.
Mm-hmm. And, so often it takes one person to, like yourself, to kind of rub a couple sticks together, get a spark, create some awareness, and then this ripple effect happens. Like folks like Stuart Butler get involved, and now Peacock, and who knows where it'll go from there. And
I know, right?
we can trace it all back to the Grand Stream.
Bring it. I know, right? It's the birthplace. It's so cool. So yeah,
that's
very
wonderful.
Exciting.
So we've talked a lot about kind of the work that you're doing to make Myrtle Beach a more inclusive community, welcoming, understanding, that kind of thing. I'm curious how you would describe the future as you see it in the Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas. Just in a general sense, do you feel good about it? If you do, why? Are there cause for concern? Anything that crosses your mind about what we're trying to do in this community, which is essentially rebuild and position for all kinds of diverse growth?
Right. So being part of the Autism Travel Club, and it's kind of considered a tech initiative, right? Because it's all online and, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with apps and all these other things. So I'm blessed to have an amazing Chief Technical Officer and COO to help with that. But we were involved early on, right when the hub opened. We were part of the Lead with Love Training Company, was one of the first organizations in there. And, granted, it's, a lot has changed. But in watching the city of Myrtle Beach and what they're trying to do to really make this a smart city and a technical hub, and because we can work from anywhere. Why not work at the beach? I mean, I'm loving it, right? I'm like, I
think we all do.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of amazing initiatives that they're working on that, like you were saying, that people don't even know about. If I didn't attend the city council meetings more regularly, I wouldn't know about all these really amazing initiatives. There's so much going on. Mm-hmm. And then especially, with our families who want to move here with autism, and just creating that community for those people, whether locals or tourists or whatever. It's really, truly tremendous, and I'm excited to be here,
Well, I think about, and I think we've all had them across our lifetime, those moments where maybe you just don't feel welcomed, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that feeling
That's Jersey.
Is awful.
That's what I say, like if we had not, I call it cold and gray, and it's not just the weather, right? It's like kind of the attitudes too. This would have never, ever, ever happened in New Jersey. My family wouldn't be intact if we hadn't moved here. There really is truly something about Southern hospitality. And then the other thing I learned was, go figure, people in the hospitality industry are hospitable.
Hey,
right? It's like, wow, it's like revelation. It's just really been an interesting learning experience for me as far as humans go, for sure.
So I personally wouldn't ever want anybody to not feel welcomed, right? So what would your practical advice be to someone like myself or anybody that's listening in the event that they do come across a family that is kind of in the midst of this struggle? What would you recommend that we do? I know we're not going to judge and we're not going to jump to conclusions, but are there other things we could do?
We're not going to video.
Okay.
We're going to, if somebody is videoing, we maybe you ask them not to or step in the way, because, people are probably like, oh, get a load of this, kid laying on the ground, writhing, screaming, yelling. I've lived that. It's really horrible. You're waiting for Child Protective Services to come swooping in, somebody to call them, when you're just like,
oh my gosh.
dragging.
Oh, that's horrible.
You just want to get out. And yeah, it's quite the scene. If you encounter something like that, you can offer a kind smile. You can even say, can I help you? But don't be surprised if we say no thank you, but know that that kindness will never, ever be forgotten. Like, I get goose pimples when I think about it because, you know, we've had so many families say, we had this situation and somebody came up and offered to help, and it just having somebody be understanding and accepting and wanting to help was just more than, you know, half the time we're just like, you know, you're just like, what? You know, totally shocked, no thanks, and then figure it out because we're just all shell-shocked at that point. But
well, that's very insightful. Thank you for that. And in the event that a child, let's say, is in the midst of or in the throes of overstimulation and acting out as you described it, is there a portion of your training that helps families understand how to cope with that, or is your training largely focused on kind of a service provider in terms of being more inclusive in that type of thing?
yeah, there's the training isn't really for the families. Some could learn, right? You know, like the general autism awareness module, or maybe even activities providers that goes into the different self-stimulations, you know, kind of, I think there's a little bit more understanding here in, you know, the United States or North America versus, let's say, I mentioned Nairobi, Kenya. Even the parents there don't even know what to do, right? So the general training module provides them with a little bit of insight, like your child isn't evil spawn. One of the things, though, that they think is it comes from the churches is that when a child has a tantrum or a meltdown there, they think that they're possessed with evil spirits. So they take this child and they try and go through an exorcism. So we've all seen, you know, what we would envision that to be, people in your face yelling, screaming, right?
Yeah.
So that would be kind of a little bit overwhelming, don't
I
you
would
think? And that what would the result be but a tantrum or a meltdown? And then they think that they have exorcised the demons until it happens again. And so, like, there's this ingrained cultural thing. So I think a lot of it is ingrained in, you know, the more awareness that we can create and education, the better off, you know, we are as a community and a society. And then we have to figure out how to help, you know, the third world countries, you know, what it means.
Wow.
Because it doesn't.
That's frightening.
It is frightening, and it impacts everyone. You know, nobody's free from autism. No race. You know, no country. No one, male, female.
Right. It doesn't discriminate in any way,
No.
shape, or form. Right. Well, I'll tell you that the thing that impresses me the most is when I get an opportunity to meet an individual like yourself that has kind of taken kind of the bull by the horns, right? And basically said, you know what, there's something good I can do in this space. And I can do it in such a way that it's going to help many, many people. And I just want to thank you for the work that you've done and for, you know, selfishly being able to showcase it here in the Grand Strand area. And I wish you every continued success. And I hope that you'll come back and talk to us more about your oldies, your hook program.
Got it.
And any other initiatives that you have. I mean, we're really just trying to get the word out to folks to understand all the unique and wonderful things that exist here. And the work that you're doing to make this community inclusive is not only attractive to families, but also to employers, right? Because we can be on the map, as you put it, as a area that is accepting and welcoming and inclusive for everyone. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much. It was great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Come back soon, and we thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Miss Peggy.
How cool is it that we have someone like Becky Large right here in the Grand Strand that has been working tirelessly to drive autism awareness and autism education? The fact that our community is paving the way for autism inclusion is absolutely exciting and something that we should be super proud of. Let's take Becky's advice and continue to lead with love as we interact with individuals that may be struggling with something that we are unfamiliar with. Learn what you can, lead with love. And at this point, that is a wrap for this episode. And until then, we hope you'll keep thriving.